Hey everybody, my name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami, and welcome to the Camper Report Show.
Bob, we've got a great show today, and just to show everybody how much the RV world has changed, the couple that I'm talking to today were in their 20s when they sold everything and are hitting the road, and they've got a great story that I'm not going to tell you all about right now. How about you? Who are you going to be speaking with?
How much could kids in their 20s have to sell to begin with? Hey, I've got a great one this week. I pinned down Andy Heck. He's probably one of the most energetic and healthy RV dealers in the country, but there's been some activity with Alpin Haus, and it's a great family business. So we're going to talk about having a multifaceted RV dealership in the role of what's happening with dealers in the country today.
Right. And we've got all the news, the late breaking news in the RV industry, but we want to tell you this. We're going to be back in just a minute, but in order to get all of our news in a timely fashion, there's a button down below. It says subscribe. Hit that button and you'll get it all. And we'll be right back with more of the Camper Report Show. And welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro, and I'm here with Bob Zagami. And Bob, this is the news segment of the show. And you know what? We should have one of those intros that goes beep, 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 beep with all the breaking news, because there is breaking news in the RV industry. And you are part of one of the breaking news stories. And it was just announced that the Boston RV Show, one of America's biggest and most respected RV shows, is not going to happen live in person this year. Tell us the story behind that.
Yeah, it finally got to a point where we were getting too close to the show dates and didn't have enough confirmation of the facility and the dealers. There were some questions, so the decision was made last Friday between NERVDA and Paragon Group to cancel the Boston RV and Camping Expo. We were already pushing it into April, and quite honestly, some of the dealers didn't like that date. In April, they really like to have customers on the lots. There's still the rising issue of COVID-19. And although we didn't have an indication that the site would be used as a hospital as it was last year, but in the middle of the year, there was always a possibility for that. So in the best interest of the dealers and the community and the RV public, we decided to cancel the Boston show for this year, and we'll be back next January at our regular time on Martin Luther King weekend, and back at the Boston Convention Exhibition Center. So that was a downer, but it's not usual. Shows have been canceled all across the country since last March.
I think it's important to point out that it was not the dealers or anybody in the RV industry that was getting squeamish with this, even though the dates were moved from the traditional January dates to April, but it was really the availability of the venue that wasn't going to be guaranteed. So there's no point of planning on a show and then finding out that because of one reason or another, we wanted to do a show but couldn't.
Yeah, in fairness to the BCEC, it is part of the the state structure, and they're being very cautious. They do have leases that people have signed up for, and some other events might go, but a consumer event is pretty large, and getting down to the middle of January, trying to get dealers organized when they are planning their own open houses already for April. There are a lot of factors, and I think we're going to be fine without it. The dealers they're still staying busy. I mean, there was some that said, look, we don't think we would, if they had a show, we don't think we'd have inventory for the show, or we don't think we have enough people to cover a show and the dealership with the activity that they're seeing at the dealerships. And the activity, and this is nationwide, that we're seeing at dealerships in November, December, January. Yeah, we've never seen that. So what is it going to be like come April or May when the good weather really gets here and props it all up even more? So we'll just scrap it for 2021.
Right. Now, as far as shows are concerned, the big one that's going on as we speak is the Tampa RV show. And I know it was our plan to go there and cover it live for the Camper Report show, but you know what? We're both in that age group that is supposed to be targeted, and we're not going. However, the show is going on, and we're going to have correspondents there. Actually, a couple people that are manufacturers that we're going to be talking to later on in upcoming weeks in the show that will be there. So we will be able to, get the scoop on what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a preview for next week's show, which we don't normally do, but Coley Brady, one of the founders of Alliance RV, is going to be at the Tampa show. They've got a big exhibit. They're introducing their first toy hauler, and Coley's going to come on the show next week and give us a one-on-one update of what it was like for the manufacturers, what it was like for the consumers. So we appreciate that, and we look forward to welcoming him into the show.
Right. And we should also say, if there are any of our viewers that did attend the Tampa show, just write down below in the show notes, whether on YouTube or on a Facebook page, tell us what your experience was at the Tampa show. And was it crowded? Was it too crowded in the RVs? Did you find that you were squeamish about getting into crowds? Let us know, because this show exists for our viewers, and the growth that we've had is because of the viewers. And we want you to be part of the show. So let us know if you've gone to the show. So,
well, John, if they had promised us the vaccine in our arm while we're at the show, maybe we would have changed our mind. But
exactly.
We are in that age bracket that makes us eligible, depending on the state that you live.
I'd much rather trade these long sleeves for a short sleeve shirt in Florida weather. But hey, we know even people that we are in correspondence with on a regular basis that live in Florida that said, I'm not going. I just don't feel like it. Even a lot of our friends in the RV media have decided not to go. But you know what? There'll always be people that'll go. They'll always be able to tell us a story. And we will learn for future events what is being learned this week in Florida. So
and I wish them well. I hope they have a great show. I hope it's safe, secure, and people get a chance to see all the great products that the manufacturers and dealers have put on display down there, because it is a spectacular show. With or without a virus, it's a great show.
Right. It'd be better with us, but it'll be good anyway.
That's true.
Let's segue now. We get on Route 95 in Florida and go all the way up to the great state of Maine, from one end of 95 to the other. And in the great state of Maine, there's an area there called Down East Maine. And there is a very famous and popular national magazine called Down East Magazine. And there is a story in the brand new issue, and we're going to have it available here for people to be able to click on and see, that talks about new people that are getting into the RV lifestyle. And one of them is very prominent national, I should say international author and speaker, David Meerman Scott. And Bob, you know David well, and talk a little bit about this story, about why it's so important to RVers across the country.
Well, it's the new breed of RV, the new generation. And by the way, David is closer to us than he is millennials in age. He just turned 60, and he hikes and he bikes and he surfs and he climbs mountains and he does everything outdoors. And last year, actually 2019, I had a chance to collaborate with David on his new book called Fanocracy, which is about building fans for your business, whether it's a small business or a large business. And we incorporated in the new book a section on RVs. And what we did was have the people tell different stories. And we talked about the Go RVing campaign. Toby O'Rourke was quoted in having the KOA exposure and how KOA goes after fans. And from that, he got excited about my passion for the industry, which I've had for years. And then all of a sudden last year with the pandemic, he lost out on about 130 speaking engagements around the world. That's the book right there, around the world. And he started doing virtual events, spending more time at home like many of us. And he called me up one day and he said, if I have to stay home, I think I want to buy one of those RVs, and I want to go travel and I want to do my outdoor adventures and what have you. So he wound up buying a Winnebago Rebel from Lee's Family Trailer Sales in Maine. And he is actually featured in this month's issue of Down East Magazine as one of that new generation, whether it's a young generation or an older generation, that has adapted their lifestyle and taken up the RV lifestyle. And so now he's having a fun time camping in state parks, and he plans on doing a lot of traveling. Great story. We'll put a link, like I said,
There are a couple of other couples from New England that are,
have people look at it.
there are a couple other couples from New England that are mentioned in that also. But I think the important point of that whole story is the number of new people that are getting involved in RVing for the first time. And we've seen the statistics in prior years. It was 25% of the people that were buying RVs were first timers. That number didn't enlarge. It doubled to nearly 50% of the people that bought RVs in 2020 were first-time RVers. And it doesn't mean that they're just young people. There are people that are in the middle age brackets that never considered. I mean, David was a jet setter and a hoteler, and that's how he traveled. Never think that
10 or 15 different countries a year. He was all, his books have been translated into well over 20 languages. He's been into, I think he's been to 30 countries speaking. It's amazing. And now he's out there, him and his wife, Yakaria, and camping and boondocking at the lakeside and in the mountains. Yep. And he's absolutely loving it.
Yep. So much going on. And he got his in the fall. So he really hasn't had a spring and a summer and a fall to deal with yet. So maybe this summer, what we can do is hook up with him at a campground up in the great state of Maine, or anywhere for that fact, and have him on as a guest and have him talk about how he likes RVing.
That's a good point. We'll do that.
So with that being said, we want to thank you for joining us for the news segment here on the Camper Report Show. We'll be back with more right after these important messages. Hey everybody, and welcome back to this segment of the Camper Report Show. You know, I've said it before, I'm going to say it right now, and I'll say it again, that you meet the coolest people when you're RVing. You meet people from all over the US, you meet people from all over the world, and you meet them in the craziest places. They represent every different demographic possible, every different background, every different lifestyle, every different occupation. But when they're RVing, they're just RVers. And I had the opportunity to come up and meet a couple not too long ago. And I want to introduce them to you right now. It's Frankie and Alex, or as you look at your screen, Alex is the one with the longer hair without the beard. Frankie's the guy with the beard. And guys, tell us a little bit about your background so that our audience can be familiar with where you're coming from.
Yeah, so we started our journey in Brooklyn, New York. We were both working full-time jobs, 40 plus hours a week, commuting an hour and a half a day. And
we both lived them for those type of lifestyles for a decade. And we were just ready for something different. We were ready to travel and get out there. And I had this dream of snowboarding all the epic and icon mountains in North America. And together, Alex and I made that happen. We built out our own rig from scratch and on a very tight budget because we knew that we didn't have the funds that some people might.
Well, also we wanted our money to last longer too. So we wanted to be able to travel for at least a year without any worry of money or things like that. So if we could build a rig for less expensive and then have our money to have fun with, that was kind of the plan. Yeah. But now that we've been on the road for a year, we want to stay on the road as long as possible.
So did you both have the wanderlust prior to meeting each other, or was it after you met each other?
Yeah, we actually both had the wanderlust before we met each other. Actually, on our first date, I told Alex, like, hey, I'm going to travel, so don't get attached, you know.
And I was like, that sounds like fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think we were both pretty done with New York. We'd been there for so long and was just tired of like the hustle and bustle of the city and wanted more natural landscape.
Right. So you're in a situation where most people kind of dream about, and basically what you did at very young ages, I believe you're in your early 30s, right?
Yes.
Early 30s. You quit your job, you sold everything, and now are virtually home. We wouldn't really call you homeless. You live in a house on wheels, but you didn't do it the traditional way. You didn't go out and buy an old RV. You went out and found a van, and the van life is kind of growing exponentially. during this pandemic, because people in your demographic are saying, wait a minute, even if we keep our house, we can still travel because the jobs that we do don't make it mandatory for us to be at West 42nd Street on the 33rd floor of a building, or over in Brooklyn doing the work that way. So tell us what you traveled in. I know we've got some photos that will pop up as well, but you guys are kind of non-traditionalists.
Yeah.
So we had a 2003 Dodge Sprinter. It was we found it for around $4,000, and we wound up building it out.
It was completely empty when I got it. Very rusty. It was like
it was a lot of work.
Some TLC for sure. But for our budget and price range, we actually looked at RVs, used RVs in our price range, and they were like sad.
Yeah, and regardless, we were going to have to do the work. So we might as well make something exactly how we think we're going to utilize it rather than something that's already prefab.
Okay, and I know we have some photos of the build, the process of the build, and I know you're building a new one right now, but once you hit the road, did you have a plan? Did you have a destination? Did you have an itinerary? Or did you just say, let's leave Manhattan in the background and, head out on the interstate?
Yeah, so we did have a destination in mind. Like I said before, we were going to be snowboarding all the epic and icon mountains in North America. So we actually had them mapped out, and there was 83 of those mountains. Originally, we thought there was 71. So we had them all mapped out on a map, and we headed north from New York to like the Vermont area, all the way up into Canada, and then across the country, all the way to Montana, as far south as New Mexico, and then west to California. And then unfortunately, that's when everything sort of came to a head.
Yeah. So Frankie, it's very evident that you have a super strong New York personality and accent. Did you ever need interpreters for people to understand you when you were in other parts of the country?
Several times. People constantly make fun of the accent, but I'm cool with it because it sets me apart from other people out here on the road, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm happy to interpret.
Talk about some of the characters that you may have met on the road.
Yeah, we met so many really wonderful people. When we were snowboarding, obviously we met a lot of people on the ski hill. One of our favorites was a man named Jim, who we just happened to meet on the ski lift, and he knew that mountain like the back of his hand. He took us around for the whole day, and actually ended up giving us passes to use his timeshare so that we could go use the hot tub and the showers and things like that.
To paint a picture real quick of who Jim was, is he was a 74-year-old man who is a retired firefighter and ski that mountain all the time, So it was like the perfect person to meet on the first gondola ride up in Maine at that mountain. And he was just so gracious to have our company as well as we were for his, that he wound up giving, us a gift of showers and gym.
What was that song? God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy, by the guy who in the bar. And
we haven't met a lot of crazies.
Right. He met an older guy in a bar, where a businessman in the bar, and they ended up having a conversation, and the guy died and left all his money to him.
Oh my gosh.
Rodney Carrington. Something like Billy Carrington. So look that up. God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy. But speaking of money, I know the question that most of our viewers have on their minds right now. You quit your job. How do you make ends meet? What do you do for revenue?
You want to just grab that? It's my parents' phone is ringing.
Yeah.
So for money, we actually make YouTube videos. So our channel is FnA Vanlife. And really only in the last maybe 5 or 6 months has it actually started covering our expenses. Like I said before, we saved a lot of money before we left, so we didn't have to worry. And in our minds, we were like, well, if the YouTube works out, great. If it doesn't work out, that's okay too, because we've got money in the bank to pay all of our bills and take care of whatever we need.
Another thing is I had all my tools and stuff from working as a mechanic previously in air conditioning. And I was like, hey, if we ever need to make money, I could always pick up a side job, just along our route, look on Craigslist.
Regardless of where you were.
Yeah, look at the ads, and then just pick up a couple jobs. The thing about living on the road is it doesn't take as much money as living in a home.
Mhm.
So you could do 4 or 5 jobs and then have enough money for 2 or 3 months, you
Mhm.
know?
So we should say that right now you are in Canada. You're quarantining at Alex at your parents' house. Right?
Yeah.
But your plan is you're in the process of building another van, and
Yes.
then going to hit the road again with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so our new van is in Florida right now at Frankie's mom's house.
Yep.
And it's basically completely empty. We have 2 windows, a fan, and some electrical wiring run, and that's literally it. So when we get back there in January, we need to hit the ground running and build a home.
Hammer down.
So what would you say to people your age that, you know, may not have kids and may not have, you know, attachments to them about doing what you're doing? Do you have any regrets, or would you say, come on along, do it when you're young?
I would say that, so in my previous job, almost every single worker there that was like 40 to 50 would tell me, like, Frankie, get out and do as much as you can before life hits you. You know, like, right now is your opportunity to actually do it and enjoy it to like the highest, you know? And so I took all that to heart, and I've always thought that way myself, and it just reassured that we should get out there on the road. And so for anybody that is our age, that is in our demographic, no kids, you should do it now while you have the chance. Plus, the growth you have as a person from meeting people on the road, the positivity that you find out there, it's unbelievable, and it just makes you want to live this lifestyle even more.
Even more, because I know that Alex, you had said originally your plan was to just try it for a year and then see what happens, and now you're hooked.
Yeah, we actually were like, okay, we'll travel for a year and then we'll have seen everything. So we'll know where we want to buy land and build a house or buy a house.
We were naive.
And like, we've hardly scratched the surface of what there is to see. We did 20,000 miles last year. And I feel like—
How many states? Any idea how many states?
32
states, yeah, and 2 provinces.
Most people don't even see that in their lifetime. You saw it in 1 year.
Yeah.
And you did it even with coronavirus, you know, pandemic hitting. So we want to thank you so much. We're going to put down below where people can reach you via Instagram or Facebook or email address, that type of thing. And let me ask you this. Would you guys kind of stay in touch with us as you progress in your new van build, and let us know what your new adventures are?
We would love to.
We'd love to.
Okay, so the people we have been talking to are Frankie and Alex, and they have a YouTube page called FN, F like in Frank, N like in and, but F, the letter F, it's down below, folks, FnA Vanlife. And I'm sure that you'll enjoy following them because they're an adventurous young couple, and we want to wish them well. And we also want to tell you that if you enjoy this segment and other segments here on the Camper Report Show, down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, look for the little button that says subscribe. And then every time we get a new episode, we should call it The Life of Van Life of Frankie and Alex, and we'll have it up here on the screen as well. So with that being said, let's go RVing.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the Camper Report Show. I'm delighted to have Andy Heck from Alpin Haus on with us today, and Andy and I have known each other for years. Welcome to the Camper Report Show, Andy.
Thanks, Bob. Great to be here with you today.
Yeah, you've been busy like every other dealer in the country, but you know, if there's somebody out there that has never heard of Alpin Haus, which I find hard to believe, but give us a little history of Alpin Haus.
Sure. We're family business. My father started the business in 1964. We started as a ski shop, and through the years we got into different recreation products, RVs in the 60s, got into swimming pools, we got into boats, and so now we have 4 RV stores and two ski and pool stores and 1 boat store. So and then also a fitness center. So we're a few different things, which keeps it fun. And I was just going to say, from a family side, my dad's still involved. My brother and sister are, and two of my kids now, and 2 of my sister's kids now work part-time for us through high school. So it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's fun how the industry, or how Alpin Haus is involved, because with the diversification, everything that you're doing is pretty much outdoor related, or certainly fitness related. And the industry is being supported now by this outdoor recreation roundtable, and people are really starting to pay attention to a conglomerate of associations and industries that contribute $788 billion to the economy. So you can touch the consumer at every season of the year and almost with everything that they do outside.
True. And that's why we love it. It's why it all kind of fits together. I mean, each of the businesses has grown into its own, entity, so to speak, but yet there's so many similarities. And as management, as we get together, there's so many lessons that apply to every single one of our businesses. And, being outdoors is the key.
Being a family business, number one, and over 50 years in business, you don't get to that point unless you serve your customers well. And I know you're very active in the community, but if you look at it from a customer standpoint, what stands out about Alpin Haus in a world where we see some mega dealers developing that have 10, 20, 15, 100 locations versus
Sure.
a localized regional player like yourself? What are the advantages that you bring to the table that allow you to go 50 years, and I'm sure you'll still be there in 100 years?
That's the goal. Well, we obsess over it. We obsess over our customers. Our customers, and for each store that we have, I mean, the customers are part of the community. They're part of our, our family business. This is the way we look at it. We go to church with our customers. We go to the grocery stores with them. We see them in restaurants. So to us, we want to take care of people. And we're in it for the long term. So that's the key. We know that if we do things right, we're gonna be with our customers for years, through many RVs. That won't just be one. I mean, we have customers that come in now that still joke that they bought their first one for my father back in the late 60s or 70s. So it's amazing, how long of a run you can have if you treat customers right.
That's a good point. And then I imagine because of the different types of business, you probably got customers that have bought a boat, their outdoor furniture, their skis, their RV. You probably got a good collection of customers like that.
We have so many crossover customers, and they always bust on me saying, "Here we go, spending more money with you again." But it's great, because those customers that do a little bit of everything are just we love them.
Yep. That's interesting. What do you think of the industry today and the larger players, the smaller players? What do you see the industry evolving into in the next 3 or 4 years? Because we're ever changing, and this is a dramatic shift now with the pandemic and the number of first-time buyers. How do you see the industry changing?
I see, we continue to get more and more sophisticated, as I see, which helps the customers, and it helps us as, helps the employees that work for us, with systems and processes, and just to deliver a better customer experience, and we're all working in the industry with our manufacturing partners and vendor partners just to deliver a better experience. And so I think, there's a lot of things when I look at now that we're doing, and this pandemic sure helped us do that with using technology. Everybody, technology, it doesn't matter where you go, it's evolved. And I think we're all finding new ways to make things more efficient with technology. So I think that's a big key.
One of the things, actually, I just thought of it. It's not that I had taken any notes here, but because of the relationship that you have with your customers, do you find it an advantage in hiring people? And I'm thinking in terms of the shortage of technicians that we have in the industry and the shortage of people, but the RV industry is one of the best kept secrets as far as career development. We can bring people into various stages and have them go all the way up to the CEO. And then, we talked to Bob Martin last week, and he started as a sales rep, and now he's the CEO of a $9 billion company. But because you're so entrenched in the neighborhood, that must help you bring in young kids for technicians and bring them along. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, it really does. Because we're part of it, because we have a reputation as being a great part of our community, and because we treat our employees right, we're known as a great place to work. So we've been very blessed to continue to get great people to come work for us, and our employees, because they like to work with people that are like them, they do a great job of recruiting fellow employees to come work for us. And we do have a lot of customers that will come, and, especially in the RV side, which is nice. Some of the positions, their second career becomes working for us, where maybe they retire or do something different, and then they still want to work, and they know they're an avid, they love RVing and camping, so they come work for us, whether it's a salesperson or a service advisor or a shop foreman. It's amazing how many customers have become employees of ours.
Well, you mentioned that in the community, but you are always one of the top 5 or 10 people in Amsterdam or in your county as far as best places to work, right?
Yeah, we've been recognized many times over the years. We just we focus on it. As we say, you spend a lot of time. You spend more time at times working at work with your employees than you do with your family. So you might as well create a great environment and have fun. We love getting up every day and going to work and spending time with each other.
Well, I know you're really big on giving back to the community, not just yourself, but your employees. Tell us a little bit about some of the civic things that you do as the CEO of this corporation. How do you give back?
Yeah, I mean, we're very involved, in so many different ways. We could go on to the list could go on forever, how many different things we do. I currently serve on our local hospital board, and it's always important to us because healthcare, and especially in the pandemic, is, it just shows how important health is. So that's a big one for us. With our local ARC, we employ a lot of their consumers to come work for us in janitorial services and stuff like that. So that's a way that we can really help the, some of the people with the challenges, and they come work for us. And then, the schools and little leagues and things like that, we do everything we can to help support that as well. And then, so there's just a lot of different things.
That's great. Andy, I want to thank you very much for joining us today and giving us a little bit more perspective of a great company and a great corporation. Of course, one of the first stories I did when I started writing in the industry back in the late 90s was with your father, and he's a tremendous guy and tremendous family business. So thank you very much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here, Bob.